Okay, and then I just had one more comment, and that was to, you know, the two ladies, Margie and Alexis, who came up to the podium. And I know when this issue came up several months ago, one of the biggest items, one of the reasons that I had leaned towards sticking with the existing law was that it was going to take several $1,000s in order to reassess and make a determination on whether we should allow chickens in the backyard. So, I mean, we're in a slightly better position now because of measures I and M. So I'm just going to, you know, bring this up to the council. I don't know if anyone wants to, you know, re-look at that issue, but I just want to say thank you for bringing that information forward.
You know, getting back to the chicken issue, I guess I'm a little different than my colleagues here because I think that there's a national chicken in the backyard movement, but I also think there's a separation between living in a city and living in the county. And the trend is right now to build a lot smaller houses. The trend is from A-bag to build houses on lots that are really small. And I happen to live in one of those small lots. And I literally can hear the people taking a shower next door when their windows open. I think that if we approach the chicken ordinance, we need to do it with the understanding that we're only going to hear from certain factions. If you remember the last time, they had a federal, national. I was hearing from the Bahamas, and I was hearing from Florida because they put our name on some petition, and it was literally 150 to 300 emails that we received because there's this issue. And I personally think that that's who's going to come. When we do the chicken ordinance, that's who's going to be here, is that group. But there are neighbors, I think, that really have concerns about chickens in a backyard where the entire backyard is, you know, 10, 20 feet. And if you look at the houses that are being built in Southtown, you look at the houses that are being built in North Village even, their backyards are extremely small. So if there was any discussion about reducing an acre to a, you know, I would want it to be a pretty substantial backyard before I'd approve it just in general. So I'm a little bit different. I don't mind looking at it if that's the decision we do and we're going to pay some money to do the evaluation. But I really think we need to be careful that there are two sides to this story and that there are people who live in town that have chosen to live in town. They've chosen to live in the kind of houses that they've chosen to live in. And I know that there's all these 42 or 50, there's probably thousands of cities. But I also know that some of the cities are evaluating whether or not that was a good move. And there are some where you can't determine the sex of the chicken until it gets a little older, and those roosters are being let out on their own and not being cared for. So I think there's just a lot of complex issues, and I would tend to really want to separate the experience of living in the country versus living in the city.
Comment on something that Councilmember Hunt earlier said, attributing small lot development to A-bag, which was somewhat of a pejorative comment. I can assure you, as a former planning director at A-bag, that A-bag does not influence how housing is built. That's totally an economic issue. So, Councilmember Hunt, I just want to correct you on that point. Thank you.
Well, Jerry, I serve on ABAG, and I can tell you that...
Member Hunt.
Thank you, I'm sorry, Steve. That ABAG does influence housing, and that they have sustainable housing and infill projects, and they do the RENA applications every year, which is your housing allocation. So I think that they do, particularly of late, they've been very involved in One Bay Area. They've been very involved in sustainable housing. The current AB 375 and 32 regulations talk about transit-oriented center development, which is why you have 6,532 houses going in at the Vanden Peabody. So ABAG is of late, they've really increased their influence on local housing decisions.